Good morning. Whether the Unitarian Church of Evanston is your spiritual home, or you are seeking comfort and connection in uncertain times, we are grateful you are with us. We are an inclusive and welcoming community seeking truth in love and striving to nurture the human spirit for a world made whole. We are guided by our principles and values, which remind us in every moment and through every challenge that each of us matters and that we are all connected through the vast and beautiful web of existence. Together, let us remember our oneness, our kinship with one another, and may we hold one another in heart and mind with tenderness and careful attention. There are many links of connection in the comments section, including credits for the readings, to virtual religious education, for donations, and to be added to our email newsletter list. A few announcements this morning. All are invited to the all-church Zoom meeting on Wednesday at 5:30. You'll find a link in the message and in the email announcement on Wednesday afternoon. The link for a virtual coffee and conversation after the service is in the See More section below. If you want to learn more about the Zoom poll vote in next Sunday's meeting, please join us at coffee hour. The practice will be held near the end of coffee hour at approximately 1 p.m. And then later this afternoon at 2 p.m., you can join us for a revisioning of our religious education program with myself, Reverend Eileen. And there's a link for that below as well. All are welcome. Tomorrow, Interfaith Action's second annual Walk for Warmth, raising funds for the emergency overnight shelter, will take place at 11 a.m. in the Evanston Civic Center parking lot. It will be a 3-mile family-friendly car parade, the Walk for Warmth on wheels. You can join the Evanston Interfaith MLK Day service today through the Second Baptist live stream at 3 p.m. And there are numerous Community Renewal Society MLK Day events tomorrow, so please check the newsletter for details. And now a message from Jessica Tomel Presto.
Hello, my name is Jessica Tomel Presto, and I am President of the Board of Trustees. I have an important message for UCE members. A congregational meeting will be held on Sunday, January 24th, immediately following the service, to vote on calling our ministerial candidate, Reverend Eileen Liviet. Due to COVID-19 restrictions, we will be holding our meeting virtually. Here's what you need to know in order to vote at that meeting. You must have been a member of the church for at least 90 days. For the vote to happen, we must have a quorum of 40% of UCE's eligible voting members. That's about 160 people. And to call the minister, 80% of those present and voting at the meeting must vote yes. Though our bylaws specify that a yes vote from 80% of those present at the meeting is required to call a minister, most ministers see at least 90% as a successful call and will not agree to the call with less. If you are an eligible voting member, you will receive a Zoom link in your email on Wednesday, January 20th. Please do not share that link. If you do not receive that email, please contact the UCE office by Friday, January 22nd. On January 24th, immediately following the service, please click on the Zoom link to join the congregational meeting and vote. Further instructions for what to do at the meeting are detailed in this week's newsletter and will be in the newsletter the next 2 weeks. Please contact Adam Goff before the meeting if you need assistance with Zoom. Please contact the board if you cannot access Zoom and would like a phone buddy to connect you to the meeting that day. If you're not an eligible voting member, you can watch the meeting on the YouTube live stream. Please do not have both the YouTube broadcast and the Zoom meeting running at the same time. If you have any questions about the meeting, please contact the Board of Trustees. Please attend one of the Candidate Week forums hosted by the Search Committee. Thank you. Please join us on January 24th and cast your vote.
And now I invite you to get your chalices ready, set a place for yourself and your family as we join in beloved community. Our opening reading this morning is The Task of Religious Community by Reverend Dr. Mark Morrison Reed, a Unitarian Universalist minister and historian. The central task of the religious community is to unveil the bonds that bind each to all. There is a connectedness, a relationship discovered amid the particulars of our own lives and the lives of others. Once felt, it inspires us to act for justice. It is the church that assures us that we are not struggling for justice on our own, but as members of a larger community. The religious community is essential, for alone our vision is too narrow to see all that must be seen, and our strength too limited to do all that must be done. Together our vision widens and our strength is renewed. Come, let us reimagine the world together. Welcome to worship. Barb and Ari Potter light the chalice in northern Illinois on the traditional homelands of the Council of the Three Fires, the Odawa, Ojibwe, and Potawatomi nations. Many other tribes such as the Miami, Menominee, Ho-Chunk, Sauk, and Fox also call this area home. We name these in honor and respect. Please join me in saying these words by the great poet Maya Angelou. History, despite its wrenching pain, cannot be unlived, but if faced with cut, be lived again. Lift up your eyes upon the day breaking for you. Give birth again to the dream. And join in saying the words of our covenant. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
My life flows on in endless song above earth's lamentation. I hear the real, though far off hymn that hails a new creation. Through all the tumult and the strife, I hear the music music ringing, it sounds an echo in my soul. How can I keep from singing? What though the tempest round me roars? I know the truth, it liveth. What through the darkness round me close? Songs in the night it giveth. No storm can shake my inmost calm, while to that rock I'm clinging. Since love prevails in heaven and earth, how can I keep from singing? When tyrants tremble as they hear the bells of freedom ringing, when friends rejoice both far and near, how can I keep from singing? To prison cell and dungeon vile, our thoughts to them are winging. When friends by shame are undefiled, how can I keep from singing?
Good morning. These are the joys and sorrows that have been submitted this morning through our Google form on our website. You can find it there. You can find it through our newsletter. And if you aren't able to find it, you can always send an email to me or to Reverend Susan Francis. This is from Jillian and Dan Lawrence, a sorrow. Last week, we lost our dear friend Mike. He entered hospice care on Christmas Eve following a courageous 13-year battle with cancer. He was only 38 years old and is survived by his dear wife, Leah, and their 3 young daughters. Our hearts are breaking, especially as we are not able to gather together to support them and mourn together because of the pandemic. And from Michael Baker, on Monday, January 11th, my father died from COVID. While I am sad for myself, as I know that he is rejoined with the pleroma, which in Gnosticism means the spiritual universe. These are heavy sorrows today. We're holding them together as a community of love. And we know that these are not the only sorrows and that there are also many joys that are on our hearts today in this very difficult time. Let us take a moment of quiet now to read to ourselves the joys and sorrows that are added to our chat this morning. We hold these also together in care and tenderness. And I invite you to say aloud from wherever you are the names of those who are on your hearts, those who are sick or who have died, as we let their names gather on the winds to be held in this community that knows no walls. Together, we expand our celebrations and we lessen the burden of our grief. And so I invite you to join me in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Source of love, as our world and country face the compounded crises of pandemic and white supremacy too long unchallenged and unaddressed, we ask for your guidance. We ask for courage and resilience to arise from within us, for we are the only vessels to hold and the only bodies to animate such forces for good. We search for wisdom and courage to understand that which is without reason. In light of all that has happened and all that threatens peace and well-being, we ask for hope and imagination to find another way. There is still joy, there is still beauty, there is still goodness and love. Help us to stay on the journey and in the struggle to find them, to share them and expand them so all can know joy, all can experience beauty, all can grow in goodness, and all can feel love. May we be well. May we be whole. May we be free from suffering. Amen.
I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river. I've got peace like a river in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain. I've got joy like a fountain in my soul. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean. I've got love like an ocean in my soul. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain in my soul. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain. I've got strength like a mountain in my soul.
UCE remains a vital part of the world and our community, and because we continue to need one another and the blessings of community, we take this time to invite you to give to our shared plate. Today's offering will be shared with Community Renewal Society, whose mission is to intentionally and decisively transform society toward greater social justice at the intersection of racism and poverty. CRS is hosting several events in honor of Martin Luther King tomorrow. There's more information in our newsletter, and the link is in the Show More section below. You can text to give, send in a check, or give from our website. If you send in a check, please indicate in the memo line if your check is for the shared offering, pledge, capital campaign, or some other giving. Please give as generously as you are able, and may what you give bring you joy.
Our reading is from the book See No Stranger, a memoir and manifesto of revolutionary love by Valerie Kaur, Sikh activist, filmmaker, and civil rights lawyer. In my early life as an activist, she writes, marching in the streets, bullhorn to lips, I used the language of resistance. Resistance to everything from war to white supremacy to the destruction of the earth was necessary for survival. In the traditional activist playbook, we resist the actions of our opponents with the goal of removing them from power. But the longer I spent listening to the stories of the marginalized people tending to their wounds, the more I heard a deeper longing for a future where we were all safe and secure in our bodies, free to pursue our dreams, where our social, political, and economic institutions supported not just our survival, but our flourishing. We could resist with all our might and never deliver such a future. We needed to do more than resist. We needed to reimagine the world.
Sleep tonight, and may your dreams be realized. If the thundercloud passes red, so let it rain, rain down on him. So let it be. So let it If the thundercloud passes rain, so let it rain, let it
Don't sleep through the revolution, Dr. King said to the 1966 Universalist General Assembly during the Ware Lecture in Hollywood, Florida. He told our movement then, one of the great misfortunes of history is that all too many individuals and institutions find themselves in a great period of change and yet fail to achieve the new attitudes and outlooks that the new situation demands. There is nothing more tragic than to sleep through a revolution. He told the story of Rip Van Winkle, the fable of the man who slept through the American Revolution, to illustrate the danger of indifference to the social revolution of the time, the movement for African American civil rights. He urged our predominantly white religious movement to dream a new world into being, but to dream awake. Don't sleep through the revolution. As progressive people of faith and members of this congregation whose mission is to make the world whole, we are called to imagine beyond what is to what might be. To imagine we must stay awake to what is happening now, no matter how horrific and frightening and engage in the struggle to transform it. The words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. are filled with wisdom and inspiration as we face the struggles of our time. It is painful to see how much the struggle for justice has remained unmoved. Change is constant, but it does seem that the more things change, the more they stay the same. The wound of white supremacy is not new. It has never been healed. The dream King expounded upon in his 1963 March on Washington address was a relatively modest dream for his children to play with white children, and for the descendants of slaveholders and the descendants of those who had been enslaved to sit down at the same table to understand and repair. That dream, though in its day seemed distant and unimaginable, was only the seed of a much more radical dream. Without a doubt, Dr. King was a radical, as was Jesus and Gandhi. It was and still is a radical idea to love our enemies. It was and still is radical to see the face of the divine in the eyes of those who are most maligned and despised in this world. It has always been revolutionary to see our liberation bound to the liberation of others and to all. The division that tears at the fabric of our nation and our communities isn't between North and South, and it isn't even necessarily between those with dark skin and those with lighter skin. We might say the call is coming from inside the house. Our divisions are soul deep, harder to detect and root out. We are divided by hate and ignorance and fear, and my heart breaks as the country is racked by internally stoked and condoned domestic terrorism affecting every community, including Evanston. Just last week, blatant racist acts were perpetuated against a school board member and candidate, as well as a gathering of 275 students. We are experiencing a resurgence of contemptible bigotry, and I, for one, want to go back to sleep. I really do. But I know that the answer to a radical revolution of ignorance and hate is not silence or slumber. The answer is a radical revolution of love. Now, it's hard to use the word revolution today because of what we witnessed in the Capitol on January 6th, an insurrection of white supremacy fueled by cowardly and narcissistic lies. We cannot fall into the trap of false equivalencies. The response to a revolution built upon the lies of white supremacy mustn't be capitulation or equivocation. We need to respond with a radical counter-revolution emboldened by the transforming power of love. We must meet the force of violence and racism with what Dr. King called soul force. We must eradicate the divisions within, among, and beyond us by imagining into existence a more resilient, restorative, and cooperative world. Dr. King imagined a world not just of children of all races playing together. He imagined a world where every person had what they needed without question, where each person had a home and a living wage and health care. He imagined a world where education was better funded than bombs in the air and waters were clear from sea to shining sea and accessible for all people to enjoy rather than a few to possess and profit from. This was and is a radical dream of egalitarian justice and collective liberation. It didn't die on April 4th, 1968 with that hateful bullet. It has inspired revolutionary activists and faithful people of courage for decades, those who have nurtured and carried it forward, those who understand that love will always be more powerful than hate, that love, in fact, is the only thing that can cast out hate. People like Valerie Kaur, Sikh faith leader and founder of the Revolutionary Love Project, and countless others who have collectively co-created a vision of the world that can be. Valerie Kaur says, revolutionary love is the choice to enter into wonder and labor for others, for our opponents, and for ourselves in order to transform the world around us. She says loving only ourselves is escapism. Loving only our opponents is self-loathing. Loving only others is ineffective. All three practices together make love revolutionary, and revolutionary love can only be practiced in community. This is what we are here for, to practice revolutionary love. It is no easy practice or any kind of insipid dream. Revolutionary love is a labor of love, and Kaur relates it to the labor of childbirth, bloody, imperfect, and life-giving. And the practice, the labor of revolutionary love, engages all our emotions. Joy is the gift of love. Grief is the practice of love. Anger protects that which is love, she reminds us. I want to repeat that. Anger protects that which is loved. Revolutionary love does not mean we set aside or bury or ignore our rage at the injustice, oppression, and devastating harm that is all too prevalent in this world of our co-creation. Our anger at those who cause us or others harm must be channeled and expressed in a way that protects that which is loved, rather than tears down our opponents or devours our souls from the inside. Rage is a necessary component of redemptive and revolutionary love, and yet we must find ways of using it that don't cause more harm. In community, in relationships, we can practice ways of feeling and engaging in the rage caused by trauma and harm. With a therapist, a friend, a loved one, we can move through and use our rage by expressing it through our bodies with dance, art, crying, screaming, smashing plates if you have to, wear safety goggles, or through writing letters to the editor or showing up at a peaceful, nonviolent protest. There are countless ways to productively use our rage to protect that which we love. Do not bury it and do not sleep through it. Fear and hate narrow our vision. Love expands our imagination. Love is the fuel of hope, and hope is the instrument of liberation. We cannot possibly participate in the remaking of the world without imagining what that world could be and without daring to hope that it is possible. Brian Stevenson of the Equal Justice Initiative and another of King's ideological progeny says, hopelessness is the enemy of justice, and hope is our superpower. Dr. King's dream may seem too small a dream today, but his dream gave birth to future visions, like tendrils that continue to reach and stretch and connect to other imaginings through the vast network of mutuality into a limitless, interconnected web of possibility. His dream gave rise to other dreams yet to be realized. Visions of abolition, a vision of a world without police or prisons, where ending harm is the goal rather than criminalizing and punishing those who harm. And that vision came into focus a little more this week through the hard work and tenacity of many of you, joining with many others in Illinois to end cash bail in our state. We are the first state in the country to do so, meaning people will no longer be held in cages in this state, awaiting a conviction or trial simply because they are poor. That may seem like too small a dream, but I tell you, it's huge. And it came about through thousands of small revolutionary movements. Dr. King's dream has given rise to visions of environmental renewal, where repair and sustainability and happiness, rather than corporate profits, are the economic drivers. Visions of demilitarization, where stockpiles of weapons no longer the answer are melted down and repurposed, and diplomacy and cooperation are more powerful and persuasive than missiles. Visions of a world where we work collaboratively and conflict is constructive rather than violent and destructive, where we are accountable to one another, where every voice is heard and valued. We must envision what is possible and believe it can be for change to occur. We must join as partners to work toward our values made real. The last public words Dr. King spoke the night before he was killed were prophetic and haunting. He said in that speech on April 3rd, 1968, "I've been to the mountaintop and I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we, as a people, will go to the promised land." One person with an impossible dream may seem foolish, but that one person turning to another becomes two people imagining a chance. Two can become three, and three can become a crowd and a congregation and a community and a country, creating a world of love and liberation. May we be that community, that congregation, that people. We have so much work to do. Don't sleep through the revolution.
As we extinguish the chalice, please join in saying these words. Though the flame is extinguished, we carry with us the warmth of community, the light of truth, and the fire of commitment until we are together again.
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love
May we keep each other awake. May we get the rest we need so we can stay in the struggle for as long as it takes to bring the promised land into being.